18th wiring regulations now reinforces the fact that surge protection is needed. And the reason for this is that the building can not only be struck directly by lightning, but it can suffer from the indirect effects of the lightning. And these can be lightning striking overhead lines, supplying power to the building, or striking the ground up to 1 kilometre away, thus inducing a transient which can appear at the service entrance point of some 6,000 volts. It's important in surge protection to take that 6,000 volts and reduce it to a level that is lower than the susceptibility of the electronic equipment to overvoltages. That voltage being 1,500 volts or less. The building is a relatively small target for lightning to hit, especially when you consider that if we draw a 2 kilometre diameter circle around that building, and we take into account that within that 2 kilometre circle there are lots of cables all interconnected together, then there is a much greater risk of lightning induced transients entering the building and therefore damaging your electronic equipment. The componentry of electronic systems has got smaller and smaller over the years, and therefore it's more susceptible to damage, especially from mains-borne lightning-induced transients. But not only that, when we take into account that our everyday lives now depend upon electronic systems, whether we're out doing our weekly shop, whether we're filling our cars with fuel, whether we're processing invoices, or for example in a hotel, booking guests in and booking guests out, or even whether we're manufacturing items. We depend upon electronic systems and them reliably operating. Consequences of electronic systems not working is actually larger than the hardware loss itself. So for example, a computer might cost, say, £1,000. But the fact that you haven't been able to process orders may have lost you £20,000. So this consequential loss is really the big thing that surge protection is trying to guard against. And I think that's the main message from the 18th wiring regulations, is that it's important to take into account that our dependency on systems now is at such a level that we really need to put in additional protection to make sure that they're always there working for us when we need them.
The 18th edition wiring regulations have very definitive guidelines in terms of the installation of surge protection devices. Surge protection devices shall now be installed where the consequence of an overvoltage or surge may result in either service injury or loss of life, interruption of public service or damage to cultural heritage, interruption of industrial or commercial activity, or where there are a large number of co-located individuals. If an installation is not applicable to any of these categories, a surge protection risk assessment must be performed. If the risk assessment is not performed, then surge protection must be installed. The exception to this is a single dwelling, where the installation and the electrical equipment therein does not justify such protection. However, when we consider the amount of electrical devices that we have in our homes these days, also the value of those devices and our dependency on those devices, we can very quickly determine that the cost of installing a surge device is relatively small. Also, we must consider that more and more of us these days are working from home. So we may be working from home using a work laptop. We may even have gone to the extent of setting up our home office. So now more than ever, we should be considering installing surge protection devices to protect these valuable pieces of electrical equipment in the event of an overvoltage or surge.